Hey guys, not sure if this is landscape or portrait or not. My phone was kind of being weird, so I'll have to try and pay attention to comments if I see anything. Uh, I'm not sure which way it's going. Um, Actually, I guess I can check on YouTube real quick on my other devices. How you guys doing? Give me a sec. I'm just looking myself up on YouTube like an old person trying to figure this out. Shit, yeah, it's the wrong way. Alright, I'll fix that. It was just, you had to be here. It was very confusing on my phone. Alright, I think it's right now. Boy, that's weird. Hey, Johnny. Alright. Johnny, is this camera looking right now? Does this look like it's okay? Why is it so close? I haven't done much YouTube live streaming, so you have to excuse me as I kind of figure my shit out here. Thanks, Johnny. All right. God, that's weird looking. Can I zoom out of this? All right, let me just move this camera a little bit more, get a wider shot. This is just gonna have to look funky like that, like all at an angle and stuff. Sorry, guys. I also can't really see the camera too well as far as my own yeah, I can't see the screen. Anyway, so I'm just gonna start talking about what I'm doing here. This is from the Afterrealm number 4. First 5 pages I already drew. I didn't get a chance to record that as I was working on it. Sometimes it just goes too quick, and stopping the plan and think about how to record and broadcast it will slow me down sometimes. As you can tell right now, I'm kind of in a mess because I didn't plan correctly. So anyway, these pages here, pages 6 and 7. This is after the end of the last issue, and Una's been pretty beat up by her last battle, so she's got to do a little bit of healing, and they got to move on to their next location. My script for this is super light. Some pages you're going to see later on, I have actual panel descriptions. There are a few panel descriptions here, but no dialogue yet. Like, I'm just writing out the beats here. And originally, a page like this that has like these 3 panels was just a description of 1 page. And basically what I would do is go through the description and break up the beats. So originally there's no panel 2 or 3, it would just read as Puka begins to drag Una on the sled to their next destination. Una's too weak to call it Rada. Her cloak of holding is torn and hard to reach for her provisions. Large wide panel as they travel, eat, and avoid trouble, blah, blah, blah. So this is all just one description, and then I looked into the script to break up those beats and moments. And then even that changes a bit once it's on the page. And actually, I think I was just reading this page here where they're traveling and checking out her ruined cloak and all this stuff. The page before, pretty simple. Una's holding onto her dice and they glow. She opens up her hands to see the glowing dice, and then the dice will be the shape of the actual panel. Oh yeah, sorry, that's right here. But my sketches and stuff are so vague starting out, it's going to be kind of hard to read. But what I really enjoy doing is taking these 2 pens and take like a bigger micron and just a Uniball pen to go over my pencils here and tighten everything up. So it's gonna be kind of boring. There's not nothing too exciting gonna go on here. I'm just gonna draw the way I normally would and just kind of chat at you. Wearing my gloves so it keeps all my lead off of me. These are just cheap craft gloves you can get at like any sort of like generic craft store. Usually they come in like a big pack. So I got tons of them. I should probably just throw this one out instead of I'm not even bothering washing it. I'll just toss it. Because they're really cheap for a bunch of them, and you just cut out the fingers so you can grab stuff properly and whatnot. But as you can see, it really helps keep the hands clean. This Una figure here feels a little off. I'll be able to fix it probably more. Well, these pages I'm going to draw traditionally. So what's going to happen is after I lay them out here, I'm trying to make her face look a little bit older. I'll scan them in, touch them up in Photoshop, if I have to, like maybe move some stuff around, or there's not too many items I can see on this page here that I'm going to need any kind of real digital help with. So I might end up just going old school, just go straight into my light box and tracing over this. I'm relatively fast because I don't try to perfect my drawings until sort of the end. And my friend Johnny, who was on here earlier, I was telling him before about how I build up my drawings by, this is very, very loose. This is supposed to be a bowl of mushrooms. And as you can see, like my first pass on it, it's just a super generic, super sketchy, pretty light pass of it. Then I take my kneaded eraser, I lighten it up, then I'll draw it pretty tightly in pencil. By tight, I mean like this. You can still see a lot of sketch lines and stuff. And then the final step is going through and using the pens to really define all these lines so there's no more sketchiness. It's almost like cell animation. And each pass, I'm tightening up stuff and fixing little things. So like when I first drew Una here, it felt like her face was a little too old. I mean, too young. You know, it looked a little more like young Una as opposed to adult Una. So as I was drawing it here, I elongated the face a little bit from the original pencils, you know. And that's that part of tightening up the drawing as you go. And that's just my process. Obviously, it's different. It's not the way to do it. It's just the way I developed over the years. And I also love, I've talked about this a lot, I really, really love the way the Micron pen and the Uniball sort of dig into the paper a little bit. And when it does that, there's a little tiny bit of like bleeding and just a little bit of edge to it that I don't get when I'm working digitally. And it adds just this extra little bit of spin to the art, a little bit of extra attitude and stuff. It's kind of hard to explain. But I think I wish I could zoom in. All right, I'm gonna move the camera. I apologize that this is pretty hectic, but you know, doing it live and figuring it out, you know. And then this page, this panel, is kind of a callback to the last time we saw Beaky, her childhood friend. And there's going to be a lot of sort of parallels between the two characters through their ongoing adventures. So I want to create these scenes that reflect each other. Just shapes for him, for Puka back here. I mean, that is not a hand, but it describes a hand. Sometimes something iconic that represents a shape as opposed to being literal is actually better than drawing the literal thing. A lot of times those details get lost. I have to watch the rocks that I draw. Often, I tend to be a fairly phallic artist. It's not on purpose. It's not a choice. I think it's has a lot to do with composition of moving the eye along a path, and a lot of times that ends up being a long, slightly curved line. And yeah, stuff like this, and trees, and constantly like, don't draw a penis, don't draw a penis. It doesn't help that I remember one of my favorite artists, Frank Frazetta. He said every mushroom is a penis, and like after that, I can never unsee it. And once it's been pointed out several times, you know, that's it. You're kind of stuck in it. It's this subconscious thought that you can't escape now. I see a couple comments over there. I want to say hi to people, but I'm recording this on my phone, so it's kind of hard to reach up and do anything. This is Puka's pipe that he's smoking, but that's a lot of pipe. Also, now for the background here, I've got these vague shapes, you know, and I'm going with like the circular composition, which is reflected on the page that this is kind of based off of from before with Peaky. Some of the ways I would do these trees, I would just use like a brush or a marker. I'm pretty cheap, so I feel like when I use a marker, I'm just using up the ink, and then I have to get rid of the marker and stuff. So, and I don't want to bust out like a cheap brush and take the time to do like a brush and figure out like, am I going to use watered down ink or good ink, or is that just too much for these layouts? So I'm just going to go ahead and just going to do it in pencil. That includes sort of like the black spotting and the shapes. What would be fun is if I was using my like a brush, grab the cheap brush or something, or a beaten up marker or something, I could do all these little shapes for the leaves and for plants, little mushrooms and stuff. But I think this is going to work fine, but just use pencil. Just to give myself a vague idea of the shapes that I want to use here. You know, what I want to do is draw the eye in. And surround it by and I've created these layers, so like the foreground is going to be this black shape of the trees and the roundedness of the trees in the forest. Then she's going to be pretty open. Both of them are going to be pretty open lines. So behind her, I can then create, I haven't drawn too many fern trees, so, or pine trees. So I'm going to indicate some of that back here. I also finally figured out a way to record videos and still listen to music at the same time. Because, you know, if I had the music playing, it gets tagged for copyright reasons and stuff. But listening to music is pretty important to me while I'm working, so I finally got like an adaptation for the iPad earplugs, because I don't want to spend a stupid amount of money for those AirPod things, which I would probably lose within 5 minutes. So I just got like an adapter for my iPad, which I'm sure you guys are fascinated by. Like, this is what I tuned in for. But yeah, I listen to a lot of music. It just keeps me going. Oh yeah, Chandra. Yeah, she had the same issue. Yeah, so like I got these little adapters here. They're not expensive either, even the official ones from Apple. So I got one of these. So I've got it plugged into my iPad on the side while I'm recording. And I listen to podcasts and I listen to audiobooks and stuff. But the music is just perfect because it can affect you in a way you're not feeling it. It's not super distracting, especially when it's music you're familiar with. There's a good glow coming out of her hand. Also, the music I listen to, like right now, I just got like my Pandora playing, and it's just on shuffle, so it's a wide variety of stuff. Anything from Run and Jewels to Creedence Clearwater Revival is playing right now. There was some Simon and Garfunkel earlier, and old school Run DMC, yacht rock, just all kinds of stuff. And I love that kind of wackiness to your music, just playing any crazy song right after the next. You youngins are used to that, but as old people, you would listen to a radio station and it was a genre. There wasn't any real variety. You're listening to an R&B station or a rap station or a classic rock station or a metal station or an oldie station. You couldn't just listen to something with real variety. You know what's weird is I hate drawing the dice. I don't know why. It's not hard to draw or anything. I don't know. I think it's with me. It's kind of anything mechanical. I just don't have much of a connection to. I'll figure it out later. I'll use like a 3D dice probably. I'll use like a model of dice and probably trace it so that it feels natural. But yeah, there's something about mechanical stuff I don't relate to. Which is probably why I do so much fantasy stuff. All right, here's Puka. Let's have some fun with this guy. Puka was influenced by it's either Brian Froud or Alan Lee drawing. Their famous book, Fairies. It's so great. Like, it's so got my imagination going. And before, like, Mignola's work really got me into fairy lore, I was in love with this book, which was this kind of fake field book that they created of Brian Froud. The idea was that Froud and Alan Lee went out to the English countryside and studied the fairy lore, and like brought their journals and were drawing fairies that they spotted and that kind of stuff. But anyway, in that book, there's this one drawing of a mythological creature called a puka. And I think it was Alan Lee who drew it. It was due to the goat head, and I was just stricken. I was like, oh my god, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. Maybe it was because, I grew up with like Star Wars and loving folklore about like Bigfoot and stuff, so it kind of just fit into that anthropomorphic, protective father figure / dog. I don't know what it was, but there was something about it, and that sort of character convention that I love. Now, you see how sloppy I am here? I don't want to call it sloppy, but I'm getting the line slightly tighter with each pass. This is like all I need to really know what the actual pencils are going to look like when I lightbox it. So this is all clear enough that it gives me structure, but vague enough that I'm not sitting there sweating the details. And I'm moving on. It could be argued that these different layers that I'm doing are taking up as much time as, say, just simply drawing it the best I can the first pass. But I don't know. What do you think? Do you guys work like this? Speaking of music, earlier, right now, playing is this song, Horse with No Name by America, um, which was my aunt. My aunt was like my mother, basically. I mean, my mother was my mother, but my aunt was like my second mother. It was her favorite song. So much so, if you've read issue 2 of After Realm, you will see my aunt makes an appearance as a spirit guide, as just herself, because, you know, it's the end of the world. Like, everything is, in all the different realities, has died. And my aunt passed. So I was like, well, why not have her show up as the spirit guide? She was like my spirit guide, her and my mom. And so yeah, I wrote my aunt in there, and I wrote her on her horse with no name, and she sings the song a little bit. She smokes her cigarettes and has her coffee, just like my aunt always did. So that's the kind of fantasy that's here, and the kind of ways that music influences me. And I think music was a big influence on me because as a kid growing up in the 70s, like my aunt and uncle, they always had music on. You know, TV and cable back then wasn't like it is now. There wasn't as much to choose from, which in a way was good because it forced me to watch a lot of stuff I normally wouldn't have. But that also meant that, you know, we had music on a lot, and because of the time period, there was a lot of like singer-songwriter stuff. And on top of that, my aunt and uncle were legally blind, especially my aunt. So music and music that told stories seemed to have meant a lot to her and that household. So growing up being a kid who was always sort of slightly disassociated and in his own head all the time, when I hear those songs, whether they were good songs or bad songs, they would take me away. They would take my mind away to another place. So they became as influential as movies, books, television for other people. For me, it was kind of AM radio. It wasn't really AM radio, but it was that kind of style of stuff, you know. Like I said, a lot of like folk music, singer-songwriter stuff, what would later become yacht rock. All that stuff was super influential. Like even a super cheesy song like Styx, like Sail Away song. Like as a kid, I didn't realize it was cheesy. It was just this fucking cool song with aliens and shit, right? And I've done a After Realm homage to that Styx album. I have to roll it out sometime. I feel like I wanted to actually tie into the story when I show it, but it was fun to do. Super cheesy, corny song, but like as a little kid, it was fucking badass. Oh wait, she doesn't have her cape on. No cape. I'll just have to remember that. This is her cape here, because her cape is magical, and she was like, got the shit kicked out of her in this last episode, and her cape is destroyed. It'll later heal itself with her. But yeah, music, big influence. I've talked about Led Zeppelin more than a few times. Led Zeppelin lyrics are everywhere in my fantasy work. I like to use lyrics as dialogue. Just looking for the shape of the tree here. You know, the roots spread out. I just need these guidelines. So this could be like one thick root, or it could end up being smaller branches. All sort of depends on once I get in there, how I want it to look. Vague shape for the tree branches and stuff. I think the foreground here is going to be relatively open, meaning not a ton of black, but then in the back here I'm going to just give some shape to the ground. We've got roots coming out of the trees, roots coming out from trees into the branches, and I'm going to use a lot of these pine trees in the background. Again, I just need the shapes, doesn't need to be pretty. What I am thinking though is like the composition, so this is going to be black behind her, and then the shape of these kind of V shapes here kind of pointing towards her. They're helping frame her out in the picture. Then it's going to be one of these fun, teeny tiny shots. Because I frankly didn't do a great job with an establishing shot here at the beginning. This very first shot should have been much wider to really establish the area, but I feel like right now we know where they are. They're in the woods and it's in the forest, and it's not a descriptive place right now. And I frankly felt like that connection between the last time we saw Piki and Una was more important than a wide shot here. It was connecting those two characters. When it comes down to a down-looking shot like this, is like an extreme shot of him dragging her on a sled, which we'll see better up. All I really need to do is do a little bit of fake perspective here. And I know those would be the shapes of the tree branches and stuff. And that's kind of all I need for the page to be done. At least from here, I can go and start doing pencils. And these, or pencil my inks. And this page, these set of pages, I'm doing traditionally. So right next to the first 5 pages, they're all done digitally. These will be done traditionally. I'll just light box this, and that'll be that. And if you use a keen eye, you can tell the difference between the digital pages and the traditional pages, just on the fineness of the lines that will happen on a digital page, or I don't know. You can just tell. I think you can tell the difference between the two. They're not wild or shocking, but the way I feel about it is, if I do a scene all digitally or all analog, then it'll balance out. Like, it's almost like lighting on a page. Like, those scenes will just have their own feel. I also used to have a lot of fun going in and just filling in my blacks here, or using like a thick marker or something, but I've just gotten to the point where I skip that, and that's mostly due to time restrictions. Right now I am working a lot. The After Realm Kickstarter is going really well. We got funded in under a week, which is good. Really validating, because doing this stuff is scary. I didn't do a Kickstarter before. I didn't have an established Kickstarter audience, and I don't know how many of my direct market audience is going to come with us. So to get this third Kickstarter fulfilled quickly felt great. It felt like, yeah, I'm on the right path. I'm building an audience, and people are following the work. So it's exciting. So I'm working on this. Bendis and I have another project we're going to start relatively soon. David Walker and I are talking about stuff. Talking about a book with, actually like 2 books with Mags. And I've got several other creator-owned stuff that I'm going to be doing. Combinations of direct graphic novel through image, more Kickstarter stuff, Um, I mean, several other projects. Kind of saying yes to everything right now because we don't really know. I did this right? Shit. Sometimes I gotta look at reference of my own characters. But yeah, I'm just working my ass off. I don't really know, as the direct market's changed. I'm lucky that I position myself with these Kickstarter stuff to have something else going. Because the market is volatile right now, I don't think comics are going away. I don't know if the direct market's going away. I don't even know if floppies are going away. It's just a lot of changes, and I've got the will to work and a real drive to create our own stuff, both my own and with friends. So this is Una looking into her cape, which has its own sort of life to it, which I've not gotten into yet. So these early pages here are going to be sort of the first references to the cape. Her cape kind of having its own sort of life. Again, super vague in here. I gotta reverse this. Because, movement should always be on a page. Not always, but mostly always. Move left for right, just like your eyes. And here, she's going the wrong way. So, yeah, little note myself to reverse these shots. She's being dragged on this sort of a makeshift sled. Puka. And she's looking into her cape here, her cloak. It's the first time we'll talk about. Looks, for a fantasy book, I love when people are carrying around like a ton of equipment. They've got their backpack and their sleeping pad, and they've got all that sort of equipment with them and stuff. But it's a lot to draw sometimes. So with Una, she's having this like cloak of holding, where she can keep all of her stuff inside it. But right now, because she's damaged and the cloak is damaged, it's not quite working, so she can't reach in and get her stuff until she heals up a bit more. And Puka's going to help that with a spell, with his fiddle, which he pulls out of his own magic pocket, which maybe I should show. Because someone he's just got this fiddle. I don't know. I'll think about it. I also gave Una just a little different haircut right now. It's only the last for the scene, really. Just why she's healing, she's pulled the hair out. Gives her a look of like that original younger Una. Weird. Alright. And the teeny tiny figure here, this is going to be fun because I should probably zoom in on this to be honest, because it's going to be hard to see. She's reaching into her cloak with her arm all the way through, but it's just going to disappear. Just to kind of show, stay closer. It looks too soft. Because we're going to see the cloak of holding. And we see that she can reach in there. She just can't grab stuff right now. The other thing about drawing loosely like this and just grabbing the shapes is sometimes, man, you don't have the energy to work. I don't really always have the, it's not the enthusiasm, but it's just tired, you know? So sometimes I just don't have the mental energy to just kick ass. So being able to work in these kind of layers is very forgiving when you do drawings like this. This is blah. But you know, it's fine for right now, and it's going to get me to the next stage. And then the next stage is I can improve it, you know, each pass that goes by. And I think I'm just going to do this larger figure here of Puka, and then I'm going to call it. Yeah, I hate the phone setup on this because I know there's comments. I don't know how to actually look at the comments right now. It's giving me, like, there's a comment box here, but when I look at it, it just gives me options to, I don't know, do other stuff, but it's not actually showing me the comments, so. I don't know. It seems like the perfect device to record stuff isn't perfect in every way, you know? Kind of my favorite part of drawing a page is this sort of like finding the shapes. And I love like screwy little lines like this that are just a little shaky and a little edge to it. I love those imperfections. This also allows me to make all my mistakes on the page here. And it makes it easier when I actually go ahead and draw the page. Or ink the paper. Boy, I'm faking this. I really should have looked at a little closer how somebody holds a fiddle harp. But that might be one of the things I'll do. I'm not going to scan these in. I think it's all laid out fine. Maybe I should because I need to reverse and zoom in on this. Alright, so I'll scan it. When I do that, I'm going to look up my reference better on hands and like how you hold a fiddle. The idea of the fiddle came in with goes back to music again. I'm a big fan of traditional Irish folk songs. And the Dubliners, of course the Pogues, you know, they're definitely more rock, I guess. I don't know. They're so unique. It's hard to kind of say what they are. But yeah, that stuff always. I'm not Irish, but yeah, it's always struck a chord with me. So I wanted to a little fiddle in there for it. Pay some homage to that. Yeah, alright, well I'm definitely gonna get more reference for the fiddle too. This sucks. And it's too close. Like, I could get away with this in a smaller drawing, but this is pretty predominant on the page, so it has to be accurate, you know. These are going to be, I was thinking of music notes at first, but I don't know music notes, and it would be hard to kind of research a healing tune. Might be fun to do, I'm not sure, but instead of musical notes, this probably should be stars, and the stars will sort of represent the healing that's going on here. The background here is going to be black. down here, like trees and bushes and stuff, and he's going to be both really there, but also just as a representation in this sort of montage. And inside of his shape, we're going to see Uma's hand. She's been collecting herbs and plants to eat. Stuff she would have recorded off of her maps. Besides places, she's been recording like plants and edible stuff. This little bowl is supposed to be made out of like sticks. We just need the shape here. And then shapes of like mushrooms and plant stuff. Maybe something that looks like a turnip. It's kind of hard to explain how this is all going to look on the final page, because some of it is literal, some of it is montagey, like overlaid image. But I think it'll come together. And if not, it's fun experimenting and just trying different things. Actually, one of the things about the Kickstarter that I really enjoy, I mean, I can take all kinds of chances and do all kinds of stuff that I never would have attempted before. Or would have been afraid that the industry just wouldn't support in the long term. Which is one of the reasons why I was running a Kickstarter along with the image book. So before distribution problems really blew up as they have, I knew that I wanted to do this series long term, as ongoing, and I just wasn't sure that the market would support it, because the not that they wouldn't support the book, but like a long life for comics is kind of rare now. You know, your first issue can start out really big, like really big numbers. And by the time you're on the third issue, they've crashed down to not next to nothing, but not something you can live off of or even profit off of. And that's just the way the market is. It's just been like that for a very long time. You know, strong number ones by issue 3. Issue 2, you're cut in half. By issue 3, less than that. And I wanted to get this to go on and on as long as I can draw it. So yeah, so that's why I kind of ran a Kickstarter with it to help facilitate a long life, whether the book ends up not being able to go on, or if it keeps going on, but it's just not making a ton of money, then not a ton of money, but you know, enough to justify it. And in combination with Kickstarter and support from fans like you, I can continue to do it, and that's what I'm hoping to do. Anyway, that's a lot of babbling for 43 minutes. I hope this was fun on some level. And just to show you how I go about, you know, working on the After Realm, which is very organic, and I'm discovering things, both story points and arts, as I'm going through it. Yeah, just having a good time, and I can't thank you guys enough for coming along with me and checking out the Kickstarters and supporting the Kickstarters and the image series. And final order cutoff for the image series is this Monday. So if you're getting it through your local retailer, be sure to stop by your local retailer and ask them to pre-order issue 3. And also, the Powers graphic novel is going to be out next month as well. So both this and the Powers book is going to be out. And there you go. Thanks, guys. I will see you here on my YouTube channel and my Kickstarter page and all that stuff. Take care.